Alrighty, just thought I'd give you a couple of updates on the van. Just called a guy, auto electrician. Yeah, he's busy this week and he's got next week off, and then he's going to get on and put a cable through. Yeah. As you probably know, some of these sort of guys aren't cheap, and I'm burning through a fair bit of money, particularly with this van, and yeah, I would like to go back to work, probably at the same place I left. I didn't send any letters that I was going to send or anything like that, and as I was leaving I was sort of told if you ever want to come back you can come back. So and it looks like we're just about diving headfirst into recession here. Thank God I didn't send any letters, so I can go back and it's still going to be the same job I left, but at least I'm not going to be hard up for cash while everyone else is sucking that dick. So anyway, having bought that other car, it sort of put a fair dent in the savings, and I've recently done a few things on the van since I've left work. Of course, I've got the tow hitch on, $1,450 later. You know, I've bought quite a number of other things previous for the van, with the freezer, toilet system. The stove didn't cost much, it was only $50, the dual burner stove. Mattress, which is $350. You know, the tow hitch was $1,450. The roof racks were $380, but I got those when I was still working. And I've recently had the struts, front struts redone on the thing, which is, they're not shock absorbers, but they're in a similar position doing a similar thing. I think they actually do more. That was $774, and it looks like I'm probably going to be up for another $500 or so just to put these wires through. I'm not exactly sure. We'll find out when it happens. And it's going to cost me another about 170-ish bucks to get a dual battery system, and then another 500 for a deep cycle, if not 600 for a deep cycle. A good one, a decent one, like 120 amp hour or something like that. I have told this guy, you know, you get these people, and you'll notice this especially if you've been involved with off-grid. Sealed batteries aren't technically sealed. VRLA, valve release lead acid. Well, actually, it's just a little rubber cap, and when it builds up gas, it sort of farts past the rubber cap as it needs to. Needless to say, it's even worse with unsealed. Nowadays, they don't have unsealed; they have what they call maintenance-free. But essentially, it's the same thing, and they try to. I think they've got some sort of like an oxygen and hydrogen absorber that sort of regenerates later, but essentially they're a fancier version of the original unsealed type, which is like your old style with your caps on the top. It's like that, but your caps will be hidden underneath a plastic plate, and that's probably what I'll end up getting. And you know, these things are not cheap, but the old unsealed type, and quite frankly, your valve release lead acid, which they commonly call sealed, and you know, I wouldn't be surprised if your maintenance free would also release gas anyway. If your battery's going downhill fast, there's no guarantee they can absorb all the hydrogen and oxygen coming off it. And I know from previous experiences, as batteries die, you can sit next to a battery being charged and you used to be able to hear them bubbling. And that's a sign that your battery's basically fucked. And you used to have to top it up with water, and then, you know, yeah, it was sort of, if it was really on the way out, she'd be really bubbling, and you could take the caps off and you'd see it churning away with the bubbles. It is not a lie that you can have a oxygen and hydrogen explosion, and if I tell this auto electrician that I am putting a battery in the cabin, then he'll tell me that no, he wants to put it under the hood. There is no fucking room under that hood at all unless you get like a fucking 20 amp hour battery, which then means I've got fuck all battery and I can't use any sort of electric blanket style heating off of a 12 volt heated seat cushion, the likes of which I have already tucked away. You know, there's the box. I've still got the old box for it there. There's a bit of spare cardboard for doing whatever dirty stuff I need to do. Really speaking though, a lot of people get up your ass big time about this sort of stuff. And if I said I was going to put a battery in the cabin, he'd be fucking whinge maker. So I've had to make up this horseshit story that it's a Peltier-based refrigeration system, blah blah. I might say it's for keeping flowers cool, you know, some cheapskate version on a refrigerated van, but it doesn't have to be perfect because it's flowers, it's not food, or it's, you know. So I've spun this bullshit story, and I've told him I need a 20 amp lead put through, and he goes, geez, that's a fair whack, and how are you going to turn that on and off? And I said, well, we're yet to build the Peltier unit, and it's going to have an on-off switch that I'll put on it. So he's going to put a system, like a line through with an Anderson plug. So then at a later point, I've actually, my father got a whole heap of MDF and stuff. It's all drawers, and there's quite a fucking lot of them. I think there was some that he's gone and used bits himself to make a shelf. My sister's grabbing some for her kitchen, and some are going to be for my van. I'll probably more need panels, and I've had ideas that I'm just going to whack all stuff in the van like this, and then I've started to look at some of these other people's vans. Holy shite! They know compact inside out and back the front, and I'm sort of looking going, now why do you just want a mattress sitting there bare and this sitting there? You've got to get smarter. You've got to get things that slide out, and you know, this one guy there, he can open the door and walk out the door, but he's got 2 mattress cushions. So he's got sponge foam cut. Foresty Forest, it's his, I think he's on like his 3rd version of his van now, but I looked at his first version, and here he was with, it's like a fucking chest of drawers, but on the top he's got half of his mattress foam that's actually held on with Velcro underneath. And then he's got like this drawer that he, like your normal ones are under your bed and they just come straight out, and then he's got another one that goes that way, and he slides that out, and it actually hooks onto a lug on the back of the seat, and then he's got like another piece of foam that's like maybe an inch thicker that also sticks on with Velcro, so he keeps that up against his back tailgate, and when the time comes at night, he's got all these clothes and shit in his drawers lower down that pull out this way, but then he's got this other tray that pulls that way that actually cuts off his door entrance. But having said that, that's his second half of his mattress that is with that tray going out that way that hooks into this lug in the back of the seat. And then he, you know, can slide that, he pulls the mattress off, throws that against the half of it off, throws it against the tailgate, and then slides the tray in, and then he opens the door and he can get out. And I looked at all this stuff and I thought, you've got nothing like this planned. And some of these other people with their mattresses like really high, so they've got heaps of storage underneath, and the mattress is high, and I said, oh, I don't want to wake up and be fucking 2 inches off hitting the roof. And I thought, yeah, so what, are you going to have all this empty fucking space above you? What are you doing with this space? There's nothing. It's going to be fucking empty. And for what? Okay, you need to be able to look out the side window. Well, actually you don't. I just got to get those little stick-on attachments that are like the curved mirror fucking thing to go on me normal mirrors. And that van's got really fucking big mirrors. They're like double the size of all the Fords I've been driving. There's seriously big mirrors on that van. And all I've got to do is put one of those little, and you get them from the auto parts shop, the little curve one. I'd also like to be able to look out of that side window a little bit, you know, when I'm merging and stuff like that, you know. Well, okay, rightio. Have it so you don't have your mattress fully blocking the window, or have it so that the mattress is, yeah, still gives you a good fucking 8 inches of that window that you can look out of, you know. I'm starting to think maybe, you know, like, I don't like this idea of having this hanging net of stuff hanging down, and I could have that. I could have that. But it'd be putting a fucking lot of weight on the, like it's got handles so, you know, for people to lift themselves up into the cabin onto the seat. You know, and I could mount a net off that, but I don't like this whole idea of all this shit dangling from the roof. I might as well just mount my mattress higher, and then I can sit on the mattress. Now, I can actually put the fridge under the mattress, but because the freezer rather, but because the freezer's so friggin' big, first of all I've got to have a drawer to slide it out of. No big deal, I can make that up. Secondarily though, it's going to have to be up fairly high. But the thing is, if it isn't up too high, I'm going to lose all this fucking space to empty space above me. And I'm looking at some of these people with their van builds and their van setups, and holy shit! You know, they pack the shit in there. They got the versatile options of things that fold out into the way, and you know, things that are, you know, and here I am going, oh gee, I'm going to be tight for space. Yeah, tight for space if I don't make anything have a double purpose. So I'm thinking maybe the freezer's going to be underneath the stove. And maybe you have to slide the stove one way to lift the freezer lid, or the freezer will slide out forwards. You know, I'm sort of looking at my options here, and I'm thinking, I really should be putting this mattress super high. I should be doing this, doing that. I should be thinking about ways to make things work in a more compact manner than just get a van and just literally throw stuff in the back like you're putting a table in a fucking room. It's not the smartest way. So anyway, with all of this, I'm going to end up getting me battery and me, like your dual battery system. It's basically like a giant fucking relay with a voltage detector on it. Once you get over 13.7 volts, which basically means you'll have an alternator running, then it turns itself on. But see, I will need to put it in a sealed box and have some sort of ventilation to the outside world, which I've got, you know, spots and areas that, you know, I'm going to have some sort of a vent in there for the stove, and I might as well have a little, you know, ability to sort of turn on a fan every once in a while or whatever to blow any of that hydrogen and oxygen out that the battery might have produced. But if you tell an auto electrician straight up that you're putting that in the back, oh fuck, you'll make a carry on. And if it does become a bad battery and you do drive a long distance and then go and park it straight away and light a fucking tea light candle or turn the stove on, you can blow the shit out of yourself. It's not an illegitimate complaint, but I just don't want him making a big fucking song and dance over it. I just want to work it out myself properly. But anyway, funny, I have never driven front-wheel drive vehicles until this vehicle, and I never really realised that, you know, if you accelerate too hard out of a corner, it makes the steering a bit stiffer because of being front-wheel drive. You know, interesting. I also never realised that when struts go bad, they get very hard. I am used to shockers that just get weak and you're just wobbling around like some fucking 1970s Cadillac because you're just riding on springs, not on the shockers with the springs. You're just wobbling all over the fucking place. It's, you know, that's the way they sort of go when they wear out. Having said that, instead of being like a double wishbone where you got a lower wishbone and an upper wishbone and a coil spring and a shocker, it's almost like this has got a lower wishbone and you've got the strut and your coil spring. So you've got a coil spring, but your strut is like your shocker and your upper wishbone. It's your upper stabilisation as well, which explains why those bolts are going loose on it as the struts were dying. But they get harder over time, and I drove that thing on an unsealed road and fuck me drunk. I don't know how I didn't dislocate my shoulder. The vibrations are horrendous. For the first, I haven't done many miles. I've probably done only fucking 50, 60 miles, but for the first 35 miles in that thing, the struts still seemed stiff, but the reason was they were brand spanking new and they had to get a bit of movement. Now here we are, you know, 60, 70 miles later, and they're quite good. And I have driven on some unsealed roads, and they're not absolutely $1 million, but my gosh, it's definitely, they're working. I can go over corrugations, I can go over bumps, and it's like bang bang. It's just dum dum, you know. And it's, so it definitely was the problem, the struts. But you know, like, fuck me, $774 is a bit of a kick in the guts when you know, when there's no money coming in, and it just seems the money just just keeps going down. So anyway, in due course, I want to try and start working things out in the van, spacing things around. As I'm doing the last couple, I've still got to fuck around with the chimney, and I've got to put the wood heater. It's already in the laundry, but I've got all this fucking wood that I've cut in the way of where it's got to go, and whatnot. But I'm going to start working out the placement of everything inside the van, and you know, once he's put this cable in, then I'll put all of my interior in, and at a later point, you know, I can take the mattress back out and place in this dual battery system, along with all the little, you know, the relay part of it and the battery in a box itself with some sort of ventilation. And you know, I'll do that once I'm working again, because that's just a case of you know, buying a couple of things that I can literally buy on a Saturday, and it's not going to be that big a deal to put all of this in, because it's just going to be an Anderson plug and a couple of leads with a couple of eyelets, you know, and I can do all that myself. But anyway, I just thought I'd give you that little update on it all, but we're sort of getting there. I've been, there's another one which I could do. Sort of, you know, I always do like the idea of electric heating, but you really wonder if you're going to have enough battery power sometimes to do all this all night long. And so I'm sort of, you know, I'm pondering other options that may be available, like tea light candles that burn for many amps, which is one thing. The other one is, and a lot of people do this and it's not really that great, is the, what's his name? They have a little burner, and they have like one of those, you know, some of them have a really small stove and they just leave the fucking stove burning. My gosh, talk about carbon monoxide issues, like, they get like one of these, and they have a little stove just burned away, and I'm like, fuck me drunk, you're in an enclosed space or something making carbon monoxide. Now, some of those of you who have seen some of my older videos on my other channel will know I've got, it's fucking, I had an avalanche of, oh yeah, I probably need to clean the house out at some point. I had a bit of an avalanche of rolls of fabric, so I don't think I could open the door, to be honest. But in that, one of my wardrobes here, I've got a one of those Coleman Black Cat heaters, and they take those bottles, but like those things, they fucking kill you in price, them things. You know, the damn things are, what are they like? They're like fucking, I think the cheapest you can get them is like $7.50 or something. They're fucking expensive. Might have been $7. I have seen them as much as $9 each, and it's like, fuck off. I can get a whole fucking 20-pound bottle filled for $22. How the fuck you give me this little... What is this thing? Fucking 16 ounce or something? Yeah, 16 ounce. It says 1 pound. So, you know, for the cost of fucking 2.5 pounds in those things, I can get a whole 20-pound bottle filled. So yeah, makes you sort of wonder at times. I'm not going to be in this van in the winter. I think in a way, we'll see how we go. You know, I'm probably not going to get it finished in winter. You probably wouldn't want to use it in winter because you're going to need a lot of heating. And some of these things, it might be better to work out at a later point, or be in the spring where you get these chilly nights, but they're not like freezing temperatures. So it's not that big a deal. But there's another one, like I could use that common black cat, but I mean, it'd be fucking killing you. You'd be paying fucking $10 a day in bloody heating, you know, it's just bullshit, you know. You'd be better with tea light candles, but the other one I'm looking at, it uses like the little aerosol cans, like I've got some around. Oh hell, I think they're behind all the claps. Fucking yeah, they're going to be damn hard to see. But it's like a fucking aerosol can. I haven't used any of these in a long time, so they're probably not even likely around. Might be some in the back here. There they are. Now it's a little aerosol can, and they're basically full of butane. Now I've got the stove, that's the dual burner stove that runs on them, and I can also get, they used to be really expensive about 5 years ago. They were like $70 or $80, I don't know, fucking rip-off, and now they've dropped down to $40. But they sort of changed them from having a glass cover to just having like a stainless steel fly screen cover around them, and it's a gas lantern that uses those. They say it will burn for 5 hours off one of those things. Those things cost probably about 95 US cents. You know, it cost me like $1.12 or 14 or something like this per one of those containers. They're supposed to run for 5 hours. I assume that's on a very, very low setting. It might be costing me $3 a night to keep warm, but, you know, it might also be worth it, you know. The other thing is, too, if you sort of use the van heating and get the van up to a decent temperature and then, you know, use the electric, the heated seat cushion, until your battery gets low, and I'll have like a low battery disconnect like I've got on my fridge there, and when that turns off and you start to get cold, if you're not warm enough to just continue staying warm, or you start to get to those early hours where it's fucking cold, you know, maybe you need to have a little, what's his name, you know, flick on the little lantern. Having said that, I'll need to still have a bit of battery power left just as a ventilation to make sure that I don't fumigate the shit out of myself, and some sort of a box, you know, to some sort of a setup to allow a bit of the heat to be transferred into the van without all the bloody carbon monoxide with it. So at the end of the day, all the setup that you need to set up, you know, has to be like a metal box sitting on a bit of cement sheet and blah blah blah. And then you've got to have a little fan to you know, make sure the carbon monoxide doesn't vent into the rest of the van. But it's got to have a steel pipe, or at least a sheet metal pipe that, you know, the warmth can come through, you know, and steel box so the warmth can come out of the box and warm the fan up. You know, oh god. Time you fuck around with all this bullshit, and then you go through $3 worth of propane, $3 worth of fucking butane a night, you might as well just buy a pack of these. People have been burning candles for hundreds of years, including these, which are paraffin wax. You can't see it too well, but that says up to 9 hours burn time, unscented tea light candles. You know, and this whole pack was fuck all, really. And, you know, so long as we have, well, we're not going to have anything knocking us over, are we? Because there's no cat in there, there's no other business. As long as you don't have it hanging near flammable items, you can just get, well, you know, maybe a little casserole dish like that I got a pack of 2 for like, fuck, what was it, like $2.50 or something. And just set the tea light candles on and light them up. And if you don't like the light, well, you know, it's just like the old flower pot, terracotta pot. I had a few terracotta pots blowing around here that my uncle had. Hey, you know, just use them. You know? If it's making a little bit too much light, well, just plonk the little terracotta pot over the top of your fucking casserole dish or whatever. You know, or do the one where they sit one on top of the other like they do with all the videos you see on YouTube. So anyway, just a few thoughts I'm blowing around with and sort of where we're at this point.